Imagine waking up. No phone, no bed, no ceiling. Just grass. And something is growling nearby. Meet Bob. Bob is a Homo sapiens. He was born roughly 300,000 years ago in what is now Morocco, Africa. He has a face that looks exactly like yours. Scientists confirmed this. His brain? Same size as yours, about 1,300 cubic centimeters. His fears? Completely valid. Today, we are going to follow Bob through a single day, sunrise to sunset. And I promise you, by the end of this video, you are going to be very, very grateful to be alive in the modern era. It's approximately 5:30 a.m. Bob doesn't know that. Bob doesn't have a concept of 5:30 a.m. Bob wakes up when the sun tells him to, and the sun is now telling him very loudly. But here's the first wild fact of today. Bob's bed? Not bad, actually. Archaeologists excavating Border Cave in South Africa found evidence of grass bedding mixed with ash layers dating back 200,000 years. The ash wasn't just left over from the fire. It was placed intentionally to kill insects, ticks, and fleas. These guys were basically using bug spray. And one more thing. Bob did not sleep alone. His entire tribe of around 20 to 30 people slept together in the same cave. Not for fun, for survival, body heat, safety. If something crept in at night, someone would scream and everyone would wake up. Bob stretches. He looks around. Everyone is alive. Good start. Bob is hungry. Bob is always hungry. There is no refrigerator. There is no delivery app. There is no protein bar. There is only whatever Bob can find. Bob's diet is called a hunter-gatherer diet. About 60 to 80% of calories in most Paleolithic groups came from gathered plant foods: roots, berries, nuts, tubers. The rest came from hunting. And the hunting? Not as cool as it sounds. Now, here's what most people get wrong. Bob and his tribe didn't chase animals to exhaustion like some dramatic nature documentary. They used persistence hunting, following tracks, reading broken branches, studying dung, for sometimes 4 to 5 hours in the African heat until prey collapsed from heat exhaustion. Today, Bob's group got lucky. Yesterday, one of the hunters found a dead impala, probably killed by a predator. They moved in, chased off the scavengers, which took courage, by the way, because the scavengers were hyenas, and took the meat back to camp. Breakfast is leftover roasted impala, some wild tubers gathered by the women, and, if Bob is lucky, some honey. Honey was one of the most valuable foods in the Paleolithic world. Rock art in Spain dating to 8,000 years ago shows humans climbing ropes to raid bee nests. It is a universal human obsession that has never stopped. Let's talk about the most important stickman in the cave. Not Bob. The fire. By 300,000 years ago, fire use was essentially universal among human species. Evidence from sites like Qesem Cave in Israel shows that humans were regularly cooking meat, managing hearths, and even choosing specific locations in the cave for their fire, essentially designing a kitchen as far back as 170,000 years ago. This is not an accident. Neanderthals, our close cousins, were doing the same thing. One researcher described their behavior as inviting a, quote, Neanderthal interior designer to organize the space. Why does fire matter so much? It's not just warmth. Cooking food pre-digests it, meaning Bob's gut extracts more calories with less effort. This frees up energy for his big brain. Some researchers argue that cooking is literally why we got smart. Let's meet the rest of Bob's family, because this is not a solo adventure. Paleolithic tribes were typically 20 to 50 individuals, a number called the band in anthropology. This size wasn't random. It's small enough that everyone knows everyone and trust is easy. Big enough that you can defend yourself and share the work. Here's a fact that'll hit different. Bob's tribe doesn't have a rigid hierarchy. No king, no boss, no manager. Anthropological studies of modern hunter-gatherer groups like the Hadza of Tanzania and the Kungsan of southern Africa show that these societies are remarkably egalitarian. People who try to dominate others get mocked, ignored, or exiled. But here's the wildest part. These groups were connected. At 130,000 years ago, evidence shows tribes living 300 kilometers apart were exchanging resources, shells, ochre, tools. This is not primitive. This is a trading network. It's now mid-morning. The hunters are preparing, and their weapons are more sophisticated than you'd think. By 300,000 years ago, early humans weren't just picking up rocks. They were creating composite tools, hafted spear tips, scrapers, blades, some smaller than your thumbnail, requiring serious planning and skill. The hunt begins. Today's target? A wildebeest spotted near the river. 3 hunters, 1 goal. 0 hospitals if something goes wrong. And here is the sobering truth about ancient hunting injuries. Researchers who analyzed the skeletons of Neanderthals, our closest relatives, found a pattern of trauma identical to rodeo cowboys. Head and upper body injuries consistent with close-range animal combat. They get the wildebeest. They bring it back to camp. The entire tribe eats well tonight. And for one evening, everything is good. Evening is arguably the best time to be Bob. The fire is going. The predators stay back. Big cats and hyenas are wary of fire. The food is cooked. The tribe is together. And something remarkable is happening. They are talking. By 300,000 years ago, the anatomy for language, the descended larynx, the hyoid bone structure, was already in place in Homo sapiens. And the capacity for abstract language, talking about things that aren't right in front of you, about the past, the future, about stories, is what researchers believe gave our species the edge over every other human species that existed at the time. They talk about the hunt today. They talk about the river drying up last season. They talk about the tribe to the east. Are they friendly? Can we trade? Maybe someone's kid can marry someone's other kid. And possibly, just possibly, one of them picks up a piece of ochre and draws something on the cave wall. The oldest known cave art in the world dates to at least 64,000 years ago in Spain. And some researchers argue the tradition goes back even further. Drawing animals, drawing hands, leaving a mark that says, I was here. Before we wrap up, let's be honest about Bob's life. If Bob made it to adulthood, past the lethal gauntlet of childhood disease, predators, rival tribes, and accidents, he might live to his late 30s or early 40s, possibly older. Studies of the Upper Paleolithic period suggest that by 30,000 years ago, the ratio of older to younger remains increased, suggesting lifespans were stretching. But here's what I want you to sit with. Bob's world had no hospitals, no antibiotics, no dentists, no screens, no delivery apps, no algorithms optimizing his mood. And yet, Bob's brain, Bob's emotions, Bob's capacity for love, grief, humor, wonder. They were identical to yours. He laughed. He cried. He got scared. He was bored sometimes. He was in awe of the stars. The distance between you and Bob is 300,000 years. And in the grand story of life on Earth, 4 billion years of it. That is almost nothing. And that was a day in the life of Bob. He made it to sunset. Day survived. By ancient standards, that is an absolute win. If you want to know what happened to Bob's descendants, how they spread across the entire planet, met other human species, and somehow ended up as you watching this video right now, drop a comment below. We'll follow Bob's great-great-great-grandchildren on their next adventure. Like, subscribe, and tell one friend. Bob would have wanted it that way.